Hello everybody, my name is Mark Wheeler. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications for NILP. So what is NILP? Well, the show is called Getting to Know NILP. NILP stands for the Northeast Independent Living Program. The best way to introduce NILP is saying simply, people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the world. It's more than likely that all of you who are viewing this know somebody personally who has a disability, or a family member or a friend with a disability. NILP is a consumer-controlled independent living center that provides advocacy and services to all people with disabilities who wish to live independently in the community. And really, it's the independent living philosophy states that individuals with disabilities are the best determinants of their own needs and service choices. Through role modeling and peer counseling with other people with disabilities, we see people with disabilities become more empowered to make changes in their lives and become more self-sufficient and self-reliant. So, having said that, NILP is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All services and programs are free through NILP. There are exceptions, and the one exception we will talk about shortly is TLC. TLC is the Training and Learning Collaborative, which is the education division of NILP. Right before we go to our video with NILP, I think a better way to describe NILP, because this is episode 1 of a series of shows we'll be doing about getting to know NILP, is to go over what our mission statement, our philosophy, and our vision is. Our mission statement is that the Northeast Independent Living Program is a consumer-controlled independent living center providing advocacy and services to people with disabilities who wish to live independently in the community. Basically, we work to give and provide all the tools that can help people live independently as they choose. Our philosophy states that individuals with disabilities are the best determinants for their needs. So, as I said earlier, through role modeling and peer counseling, they do become empowered to make changes in their lives and become more self-sufficient and self-reliant. Our vision is really, NILP is known throughout the state for helping individuals regain and retain their independence and equality in the community through the 5 core services that we provide. And those 5 core services are peer support, skills training, advocacy, transition services. So we're going to talk about all of those services and more about NILP through upcoming episodes. In fact, you'll be finding out more about the service and programs, which are very diverse and wide-ranging as we continue with this series. But today's subject will be our education division, TLC. And to that end, we're going to have show a TLC video right now, so you get to see really what we're about in this short video. And we'll be right back after that. Thank you.
Everyone has a story. I had some very difficult times. One might talk about abuse and neglect in the family, which is what would be said in my file. What I really had to hurdle is being able to say I am a peer.
I mean, I really have to say that I have really lived a full and complete life. I mean, I'm not done yet. Maybe I've got another 40, 50 years, who knows. Constantly explored not only who I am, but what I can do with who I am, and fully realizing not that I have limitations, but that I have all these possibilities.
Our story, our shared perspective on producing a customized training curriculum, as well as consultation on disability awareness and cultural competence, is what makes the Training and Learning Collaborative, TLC, truly unique from all others in the marketplace.
The beauty of working with the Training and Learning Collaborative is that they bring a very high quality training design combined with facilitators with lived experience.
Our goal and objective is to design custom tailored training programs for businesses that deal with the needs of persons with disabilities within the business.
With the implementation of the One Care program, our company has grown by leaps and bounds, so we've hired a lot of new people. And most of those people don't come into the company with any kind of background in disability. This training module is absolutely essential.
June and I spent a lot of time talking about our specific needs in terms of understanding disability culture and competence, the American with Disabilities Act, and serving the disability community. And they came back with a phenomenal training design for our folks and just a really impactful day.
Making access real for all is a core tenet of all of our trainings. Access for all means that you have to really think differently about what does access mean to that individual so that they're getting the full experience that anybody else is getting.
To have better programming, lower costs, you have to change the way you think, taking into consideration the broad range of needs, wants, and desires of all of your customers as well as all of your employees. It's good business. That, to me, is the bottom line.
The brilliant way that they have designed and developed video, it's almost like having a third facilitator helping to bring the topics alive.
We all have different styles of learning. Some people read, some people are auditory.
So how do we make sure we mix and match the knowledge and the content so that we're hitting all those diverse learning styles?
We provide discussion and discourse. And then we also provide case scenarios where they really have presented with a problem and they have to work through it.
We can structure it so that we can measure that learning is occurring.
Bert and June are very engaging and charismatic people by nature.
I can't tell you how many people come out of that training saying, wow, that was really fun.
Bert is very funny. He asks a lot of questions that make you think. June, she's amazing. Her personal story in the beginning was very, very touching.
You have the tools now that will allow you to interact with that community.
It's not very often you go to a full day training and it's really, really enjoyable.
Human beings are here for a really short time. I believe that it's my role to teach people that we're whole. I think we're all complete.
Our commonness is on the fact that we are survivors.
The Training and Learning Collaborative, TLC, is the education division of the Northeast Independent Living Program. We provide services, programs, and advocacy for all people with disabilities who wish to live independently in the community. Contact us today, and we will put more TLC into your organization to help meet all of your needs. Okay, I hope that video, viewing that, you got more of an idea of what NILP's education is about and what we do. So to that end, and talking about the Training and Learning Collaborative, I'm very happy to have Bert Push join us today. Bert has been with TLC since it started. Actually, I've been too, and that's been about 6.5 years now, Bert.
Yeah.
Okay, and Bert has joined us he actually works at Commonwealth Care Alliance as an advisor and a consultant, and also works as an independent consultant. He's been very much a core member of the TLC team since its very beginning. So Bert, let's start telling people about TLC, and I think the first question that comes up, what is TLC? How about a brief overview of what it's all about and what it does?
Well, I think thankfully nowadays there's a lot of information about disability, but TLC goes a step further. We have a group of trainers who have the lived experience of disability, both in a personal level and on a professional level, and that makes us unique. We really understand the authentic lived experience of disability, and we understand how people with disabilities have often been kind of not allowed necessarily to be full-fledged first citizens, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so there are lots of things that sometimes are artificial barriers that get in the way. And we, as I said, we have that experience. I myself have a doctorate in rehabilitation. I've been doing training and consulting for Lord knows how long. I don't even want to say, right? So I've been doing training and consulting for probably 45 years. And I've been in all aspects of both healthcare, independent living, as well as advocacy. So we bring to the table something I think that's really unique. It's not just our personal and professional experience, it's the lived experience of everyone else that we've worked with to try to facilitate and advance their independence and their goals for life.
I think that's well said, Bert, and you articulated that well. And you bring let's say, a depth of experience to the training that we provide for clients out there. And the clients that we provide the training for, it's a diverse array of them, from large to small organizations that we've done in that. So the next question that may come up, wow, you do all these different trainings, where do you conduct these trainings? I'll start off by saying we do conduct these trainings on site, whatever the client would like, at whatever location they would like us to provide the training, or even at our own facility at NILP. We'll do that as well. We also supply all the pertinent handout materials that can include outlines of the trainings that we do. And by the way, I want to mention the trainings, and there's many things that make our trainings different from others. And I think all of us have been through situations where there's somebody providing a training, they're just standing at a podium talking. And we really strive to make our trainings interactive as we can. And having said that, we do provide all the materials necessary to do that. From the outlines, from the evaluation forms, all the handout materials.
So people learn in multiple dimensions. They learn by hearing, they learn by listening, they learn by writing, they learn by doing. And actually, unlike the typical lecture of, oh, here's a bunch of slide deck with a bunch of images, we actually have a very interactive training. We set up scenarios where we do some role playing, we set up some exercises where we kind of like have the audience try to figure out where we're getting at, and we provide clues. And again, it's all based on what the client wants the end result or the deliverable to be for the people who are sitting in our audience, saying this is what they really need to learn, and when we're done with the training, this is what we want them to walk away with, whether that be knowledge or skill. And so it's very diverse, and I think in the 6.5 years, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in the 6.5 years we've been doing this, that's one of the hallmarks we get on the feedback is, oh my gosh, this was so interactive, the time just flew by.
I think you're absolutely right, Bert. I think it makes our trainings that much more engaging and compelling for all the participants, and they come away with that feeling that they were really a part of the process, and they were, as an end result, they were able to absorb that much more, and we certainly see that off the evaluation forms that we receive. Also, it's been brought up and it's been talked about that we do customize our trainings, and I'll just say a little bit about that. If anybody's interested in any of our trainings, we sit down with any client, potential or ones who are ready to come on board, and really discuss and identify what needs they have, and we carve out and customize a plan that will suit them best. It may be a full-day training, it may be a half-day training, it really depends on the need. Maybe a client wants to just focus on the Americans with Disabilities Act. Maybe they want to work more with communication for their employees and or the people that they serve. It could be a variety of things. I think you would agree with that, Bert, from the very different people that we conduct these trainings for. We talked a little bit about how it's an interactive experience and what that's all about. I'll say further that we really try to bring people in the process that we conduct real-life consumer case scenarios. So they're handed a situation and they have to know how to properly deal with that to make the correct outcome that the consumer desires and we desire, of course, as a human services organization. All right, all right. I guess the next question would be like, well, what's your topics? What kind of subject matter do you cover in that? We cover a lot of subject matter typically in a full-day disability education training. A few examples of this might be independent living awareness and empowerment. What does that mean? Independent living has become such a co-opted phrase over the years since the very beginnings of it. But we explain that through our trainings. ADA awareness and compliance. So really getting to absorb the spirit of the law, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Multicultural awareness in the disability community. I would also say the deaf culture and the barriers in the deaf and hard of hearing community. The peer voice and how important that is and what it means in working with a person with a disability. And I would say also consumer self-determination, what it really means for a person with a disability.
I think the other thing that we would add to that is intersectionality. All of these things, whether it's your race, your ethnicity, or your disability, your gender identity, gender orientation, all of these things add dimensions to your life. in the life of people with disabilities. And we really understand the complexities of that. And those are the kind of topics we can also address during our trainings.
Next, we'd like to talk about, and this question is brought up much, okay, we would like you to conduct a full-day training. And I know you typically break up your day from the initial conversations we had into 4 separate sessions. Could you get a little more in depth? What do those sessions entail? We do break up our day in 4 sessions. We really see this as evolving throughout the course of the day as far as our training goes. We start off session 1, which gets into really the history of the movement, independent living history. That includes everything. How did this all start? The independent living philosophy. We get into section 504, the foundings and beginnings of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Person-centered and consumer direction, what's that all about? And what are the principles of it? That's session 1. Session 2, which Bert is here, does a great job getting into ADA and the real spirit of the law. And Bert, I know when you conduct that, you focus primarily on Title III, which is public accommodations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Title III of the ADA has to do with any business that does business with the general public. And it's really important to know 2 sides of this. One is the business owner side, right? Who says, oh, what do I have to do? How do I have to be compliant? What do I not have to do? Which is also an equally important question. And the customer side, I have a disability, what should I be able to expect in terms of an accommodation or some alternate arrangements? And those are things we go actually into quite a bit of detail on. And again, each training is tailor-made to whatever our customer wants us to deliver in terms of both knowledge and skill.
That's an important point, Bert, thank you. It is all customized and depending on the client's needs. So this is just a general overview we do, but we can tweak it or make it change best suited for what they want. Going on, session 3, we get into diverse experiences and cultural competence within the disability community. It's really about how to communicate in a culturally competent way with people with disabilities. We talk in that session about deaf culture focus groups, recovery in the community. What does recovery in the community mean? What does lived experience mean? It's all part of the recovery movement and the recovery learning community. The importance of language and communication. And Bert touched also on intersectionality, which would cover that. When you put these multiple layers of intersectionality together and couple that with disability, what does that all mean too? And then finally in session 4, we put it all together to meet the members' needs. And that's really what it's all about. It's a capstone, and Bert does that section as well. And I think it really brings it all together, everything we discussed today. Don't you feel, Bert?
Yeah. I think people tend to think of disability as something that only sits or is a result of the way someone's body is different. And the reality is your environment, the tools you use, like my personal mobility device, my powered chair, cranes, crutches, hearing aids, whatever you use, also makes a difference. And so we really break it up into we break it up to the multiple components that create this thing we call disability and creates the functionality of living independently and living to the choices you want to live.
Bert, earlier you brought up the subject, and we talked a little bit about consumer self-determination and how important that is. When we talk about our TLC trainings, I feel that's a really important component to them. So let's talk a little bit more about self-determination and what it means for a person with disability. Our model, which is really based on the independent living philosophy, we fully believe in consumer self-determination and equal access for all from the perspective of people who live with all types of disabilities. That really means that the person with the disability should be the master of their own domain, so to speak, their own bodies. They live with their disability each and every day, and they know what works best for them, where they live, for their health care needs, and more. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah, we've had a huge change in the way what we call disability is viewed. It used to be viewed almost as a death sentence, like your life is over, you can't have any value, you can't have any fun, can't get married, can't have kids, can't have sex, all those things are like out the window. We realize that having a disability just means your packaging is different, and that there are lots of things you can do given the right accommodations. And the most important thing, I think, is we want to create environments, and that's what our training does, is to help people understand that you can create environments that allow you to express your abilities. Nobody sits around all day focusing on what they can't do. That's actually not very healthy. And as a person who's packaged differently, what we might call the disability, you have things that you're really strong and you're really capable of doing, and that's really what our training gets at ultimately, is that it's the environment and it's the attitudes, and you yourself as a person with a disability can make that difference not only for yourself but also for others.
So you can really sense, Bert, that perspective, what it's like to live with a disability, and why self-determination is such an important component in that process. Okay. Now, Bert has our TLC senior instructor, and you talked about your experience, and really you're among a team of very experienced professionals in knowledge based on years of working in the disability community. Can you give a little more background on that, on our training team?
I think we have a diversified team with literally decades, and it's not decades as in, oh, this stuff is old, but it's decades in terms of knowledge and experience. And I think most importantly, what I want to focus on is we have both personal and professional experience. We have about 6 folks.
Yes.
And it's the authentic consumer voice, meaning the authentic lived experience of people with disabilities is what drives what we do and how we do it.
Steeped in that philosophy, the independent living philosophy, and really working for years, many years, as you have too, as a disability advocate and activist too, and changes in the process. And this goes back to the beginnings of the ADA, which was signed almost 30 years ago. All right, so besides the training that TLC offers, we also offer consulting along the lines of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So a little bit more about that for architectural access and compliance with the ADA. We work with towns, municipalities, new businesses, and all related construction in our service area in working with the state along those lines for our service area, but we can go beyond that as well. We also do trainings, specific TLC trainings based on that. For example, once we do a ADA site survey, we will work with all the people that work for that particular city or town and discuss in depth more about the ADA along with part of our basic training. If you have anything else about that, Bert, I think that covers that. Okay. Now, getting down to it, we know there's other companies that offer this type of training and disability education. So, Bert, what do you think makes our training at TLC different from others who offer this fee-for-service type of product?
I think it pulls back to the lived experience, both professional and personal, and not just of the lives that we as persons with disabilities live, the lives of the people that we've worked with, the knowledge, the wealth of information, the rich detail of their lives have informed our training in the way we conduct it, in the way we design it, and in the way we work with our customers who want to design things. Sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and so I think we bring to the table a very rich wealth of detail that includes, as I said, both the professional and personal experience working with a huge range of disabilities. Some of us have worked overseas, some of us have worked extensively in the United States. We've been everywhere, we've done a whole lot of stuff, and I don't believe a lot of training companies or programs can do just that.
Bert, I think that's exactly so true. We have a unique shared perspective that others who do this type of training do not. I believe that makes us stand out as true peers in the disability community. Well, thanks everybody for watching our program today. That really covers all the basics about what our education division, the Training and Learning Collaborative, is all about. I want to thank Bert Bush for joining us today. Thank you. You covered a lot of what we do and the importance of what we do. I think when you look at it, the final analysis, TLC is good for business. That's what I'd like to say. And we hope you will check us out. You can always visit our website at nilp.org. Click on TLC, you'll find out some more information, and we would be happy to talk to anybody who wants to call in and find out more about NILP, about us and what we do. And speaking of, this is the end of episode 1 of Getting to Know NILP. And we'll be back again for another episode, and you'll learn another service or program about NILP. Thanks for watching today. Have a great day.